Much love from the mushroom. So this is a special episode, probably a double, kind of triple special episode. I haven't had an episode in a while. We got someone who's my brother, so that makes it special. And then we're not gonna really do the typical like interview style that I usually do. Maybe we'll do that another time. But Adam went to
Hey,
Wonderland conference in Miami this week, and we wanted to do a little download of what went on there. So figured, hey, let's maybe record it so we can remember it, share it with others, and see what happens. So welcome, Adam. I guess let us know a little bit maybe about what the Wonderland conference was, what you did there, and all of that to start.
sure. Well, thanks for having me on the show, Jeremy. Uh,
Mhm.
so I just got back from the Wonderland conference on Sunday. I left Philadelphia Thursday morning and got there around a little afternoon. So it was a 3-day conference: Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Um, there were many classes, sessions, discussions, classes where you actually had engagement. Um, they ran all day, and it was a conference on health, wellness, longevity. But then it could kind of branch off, from those main topics, and then you had,
Health,
uh,
wellness, longevity, and psychedelics, right?
of course, and psychedelics.
Yeah.
So um,
Which is cool that those intersect, or that this conference makes those intersect, because I've always kind of thought they have an intersection, but it's not like, I guess, the most obvious. I feel like for some reason outer space I would throw in there too. I don't know. I feel like that has to do with longevity and psychedelics and wellness and all that too.
there are a few, it's like dietitians and love doctors, and they were there coming from their avenue on health and wellness and what it does for the mind and being happy, as well as psychedelics. So, yeah, it was interesting to hear different people's point of views on, in the end, I guess being happier, and figuring out how to do that.
Was there a speaker that you were most excited to see, or a speaker that you enjoyed seeing the most?
I mean, seeing Hamilton Morris, and I think the other guy's name is John Brotherton, or Brotherton was really
What was John Brotherton?
got he he hosted a few different panels, and so he was just a good panel interviewer, I guess. But then Hamilton Morris asked him a couple questions, and Brotherton is doing something in the Caribbean, I guess involved with sort of regulation with the government, and seems like he's got a big project on his hands. Hamilton Morris was talking about sort of, getting involved at you can see what's on being listed on Schedule 1, and being involved at a federal level, or an advocate for um, the new things being listed. And then obviously he has a lot of friends kind of in the industry, doing sort of new innovative stuff. Then he mentioned sort of a new drug or medicine that's, I can't recall the name right now, coming out. So it was just cool to see them. There's a few doctors and neurologists out there too that it's cool that they can explain something on sort of a simple level. But when they got into it, you're kind of jaw drops of how intelligent some of these people really are, and getting into the sort of the mind, and links of everything, and how it's all connected.
Yeah, definitely. What's it called? So you said there was sessions also, or workshops, or and speakers. Did you go to any of the workshops or sessions? I think I saw that there's like ice plunge, or something. There's like sound healing. Did you get to do any of that or see any of it?
Yeah, I did a workshop with the East Institute, who's I believe led by Linda Franklin. Kind of did. There's a definitely a shamanic ceremony at the beginning where I learned a lot, and then some breath work and meditating. And what they kind of say is going to happen within 20 minutes, you're kind of in a peaceful state, which was really nice because a lot's going on in the conference, a lot of people, a lot of moving around, and then to have this kind of workshop was really cool and eye opening. And then you hear about, I sat in with in the audience listening to Trip Sitting, having a discussion. The East Institute was there as well. So they talk about these retreats and stuff. So to take part in that for a little bit was really cool and nice and fun.
What would you say was the psychedelic that was talked about the most? And then were there any psychedelics that I guess maybe you were opened up to that maybe you're interested to try or learn more about because you heard about it or saw it at this conference?
I'd say ketamine was definitely talked about a lot. And then psilocybin, I'd say, for the most two.
What
And
about MDMA?
a- it also could matter of what classes I went to or talks, but mostly I'd say ketamine and then psilocybin in terms of
Mhm.
maybe there's more studies of how it's helped people.
Well,
There's a good amount of
ketamine's the most legal because they actually have like ketamine clinics now. So
yeah,
that makes sense. And then MDMA, I believe, is going to be rescheduled and legalized within like a year, where it passed like phase 2 clinical trials, this, that. So that one's close to being legalized in some aspects. And then psilocybin is legal in a few states. So I think like it makes sense, I guess, going by what's most legal, what they're going to talk about most, unfortunately, I guess.
yes, yeah. I guess some of the classes or discussions I sat in, panels, I guess they have more proof and studies and trials. And then with ketamine, yeah, you had a lot of sort of doctors there who were talking about ketamine
Hmm.
and veterans too about how it's helped them, I'd say.
And
And
then
then
any psychedelic you heard about that you didn't hear about before, you're like, oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I'll eventually try that or look into a retreat that has that or.
yeah, I've never heard of iboga before.
Mm,
Never heard of rape before. I've never heard of I've never heard of Tusi before. Um,
2CB.
2CB. So yeah, I guess there's a few. Hamilton Morris. I gotta look up the video I had because he said his friend is. I forget how they're involved with it, but there's a new one, coming to light. I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's always new ones coming to light, which I never knew of as much either. And then I think when I saw Hamilton Morris, opened my eyes up to it a lot more because there's more possible compounds than like stars in the universe or something. We just haven't discovered all of them. And then there's a lot that have been discovered that are either super expensive to process or not easy to process or all of that. But the possibility of like a new LSD or an LSD that is even safer, this, that, or whatever, is really possible and probably more likely with AI coming out and they're able to probably like come up with possible compounds. I don't really understand it to explain it, but I think I heard him say something like that, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, there's now we're at a point where the science like technology is kind of helping support some of these plants and medicines and drugs and uh, there's proof that it is helping. I don't know, you'd see a scientist or a doctor post a map and it's like there's the front lobe and the back lobe, but then they know there's 8 different or 10 different areas, and they're breaking it down almost until like all the circuits and networks and the technologies there, where they can kind of see how the drug actually affects someone, or the medicine or plant affects someone. One thing that was pretty interesting is I was talking to someone, and it's they're trying to almost come up with something where it almost like microdosing, but where you don't feel the actual effects, or you don't feel the trip, but
Yeah.
you get the benefits of what's going on in your head. You get the breakthroughs, and you can function better, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know how much I like that. Maybe for some people, but I feel like the original substances are usually the better ones. You don't really need to change them much, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I guess, synthetic alterations or medicines.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty cool. So I guess what was your biggest takeaway from the conference that, or do you have a biggest takeaway?
Nah, it's still, I'm like processing a lot. I took a lot of notes down. The biggest, it's interesting. I met someone the last day who's, I think, getting her doctorate in research, and actually learning the process of how to properly research and just conduct research.
Hmm.
So I think the biggest takeaway in summary is that it's important, and in maybe clinical trials, and I'm not a doctor, actually study these. Um, there's advocates, doctors, scientists, dietitians, bloggers, venture capitalists, where there's a movement going of learning about this industry, researching it, and continuing the process of seeing how it can actually help a lot of people, from addiction, from depression, and from all these things that humans are experiencing now.
Yeah,
So continuing that development of learning and discovery.
yeah, I agree with all of that, and I know it's like necessary, but then I also part of me feels like it's all of the people who are at this conference, the 2,000 people or whatever who are there, for the most part, they probably know, or I think a lot of them know that the psychedelics that they might have tried or this, that work. And a lot of people who try it know it works, or people who know people who tried it know it works. Say, hey, I saw the difference. And it's a
Yeah.
little weird to me that we like need to have 500 studies that prove that your cortex actually changes and this and that and this happens and that happens and that's why it works to prove it works because it's like yeah that's cool but if it works to me. It's like why do we have to like prove it so many ways, but I know it's necessary. It's just a little interesting to me.
Yeah, there's I guess all of everyone's sort of just trying to figure out the best way to bring these medicines and plants to market. And the
Mm-hmm.
way of doing that,
Is this way?
everyone's
Yeah,
kind of coming from a different avenue of how to do that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. No,
but
it's the way to do it. It just to me doesn't make much sense like a lot of things.
yeah, and there's just a little bit of if it helps you, you should be able to do it, in a safe, place and manner, or with a guide, but you should be able to. And I mean, I love Mushmore. It's helped me out a lot, and I'm looking forward to perhaps going on to some of these retreats.
Hell yeah. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for coming on. Moto G Power 2021. That's what you're listed as. um,
Moto G.
what's it called? Hopefully, we can have you on sometime soon for a full on interview about you, your experience with much more and all of that, not just about the conference. But thank you for sharing your experience. Excited to hear more about other conferences or this one, maybe in some written form or whatever you do after you meditate and download it all. But thank you as always. Much love, and I'll see you in a minute. You're right upstairs. Later.
Sounds